Sign in on the left.
Yeah, sign in on the left.
Yes.
I didn't realize I was standing there.
How'd that work?
That's why. There's also a bit.ly down on the bottom right, if you'd rather do that for digital notes to put into your computer, that's fine also.
And if you have the presentation, you can just click on that
Well,
as well.
I said.
That way. Try to do what?
Well, it's probably trying to advance something here. That's not where it's at. No, I think it said the slide advance. I think it's trying to advance this, but it's not. That's not where it's open though. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Slides is actually open here. Kelly Road, like, it's having trouble finding it.
The link in the.
Oh.
Okay, is that everyone signed in? I know we had an issue with the person online, so we're gonna get that sorted out.
Go ahead and go there. Yeah.
Our next slide is just a reminder that this is being recorded. So no pressure. I'm just kidding. This is really for our friends online and for those people that were unable to make it. We want to make sure we provide this information to them afterwards. Go back. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip over our beautiful faces. And I highlighted it on accident, I think. Either that or we're turning blue on the screen.
It's blue.
All right, so we are your SST PBIS team. Jessica is unable to be with us today. She's down in North Carolina, although it's pretty much over at that day. So she's at an EVOS conference down there, so she will be back with us on December 5th. We of course have our PBIS resident expert Marla with us today.
I can't wait to hear this.
And Matthew, our tech expert.
Yeah, it's
And
going
we've got
swimmingly well
PBIS
today.
Savant, and then myself, I'm still the new guy, so.
You can only use that for so long.
I know, yeah, I'm gonna milk it as long as I can.
And Hendrik, I started with you many years ago.
So we want to get a quick read of the room. Last time we chose, was it potatoes? No, what was it?
Potatoes.
I don't know why that's in my mind, but, so on a scale of 1 to 9, on a jack-o'-lantern scale of 1 to 9, how are you feeling today?
Because it is National Pumpkin Day.
It is National Pumpkin Day, yes. If you are joining us online, if you could put how you're feeling in the chat, 1 through 9.
Are you able to?
All right, about 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, can I have someone from this table over here share with me what number you're feeling today and why?
Pretty. I think it's cute and I'm excited.
Okay. Awesome, I love it. All right, how about somebody at this back table here? 1 through 9, where are you at?
Number 2.
Number 2, okay.
Smiling happy.
Smiling happy, I love it. Okay.
I got a 7 and an 8 online.
Uh-oh.
I'm not gonna call out who the 8 is though. And I
That's not
can't
good.
believe she said she's an 8. I know her. She's not an 8.
Does anybody else want to share? How about somebody from this table over here? I don't know if you've any last.
I'm a 2.
You're a 2? Okay. A 2, all right, also a 2. Anybody feeling anything different? Sure. What about you?
Oh, wait.
A 6? Okay, a little hesitant, a little frightened, a little nervous. Okay, we'll take it easy, I promise, don't worry.
This is a safe zone.
This is a safe zone, yes. For now. We will also ask this question for those schools that are having Halloween parties tomorrow, on Friday. We'll ask this question at the end of the day tomorrow, and then tell me how you really did. So, for those of you who are having harvest festivals or Halloween parties on Tuesday, woo, good luck. They're gonna be great.
We have another 2 online too. Stacy is a 2.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Stacy. Click on the next one. So we're just gonna go over our agenda real quick today. We are a little bit behind schedule already, and we apologize for that. But again, we're gonna go through some intention setting. We're gonna look at our network questions that we had from last time. We're gonna shift our actions based on the feedback that we received. We're gonna work in small groups a little bit and share out. We have way more space this time, so we won't be on top of each other, trying to move around, which will be great. If we have time for a break, we'll throw it in there. And of course, we have PBIS updates and then closure. So our objectives for today, we're gonna review the feedback that was given last time to us, both online and the post-it notes that we provided at the end of the last session. We're gonna participate in last session's big concept, a review of that here in just a minute. Where you'll be able to win prizes, by the way. Participants will also explore a complete self-assessment, and we're gonna begin the action planning phase of PBIS and start looking at it as teams. And then we're also gonna be follow back up with Dr. Bruce Perry, looking at his second episode of brain research and how that impacts student learning. Our meeting matrix, our expectations. Most importantly, we want you to be present with your heart and mind on. We understand if you need to step out, but if you have questions, if you need clarification, we are here for you. For those of you joining online, please feel free to put any information in the chat. We are monitoring that, so we'll make sure to answer those questions. And yeah, I think also another important one is the very last one on the bottom right, have fun while learning. Okay? All right, Matthew.
Can I do this
Yes,
quickly?
ma'am.
So for those of you that were with us last year, no, 2 years ago, when we were only virtual, we actually created something called high fives. Do you remember the high fives? For those of you with us virtually? Well, last time we kept on thinking, how can we do this face to face? Because it's our acknowledgement system. So what we created was actually high five tickets. And the beauty of it, these are a little different from this morning though. The beauty of the high five tickets is, first, I have to tell you the story behind it. We did order real tickets that actually are perforated and you can tear them off easily. But they're back order, I guess it's the hot item. So I just created them on cardstock. So when you get them, notice I said when you get them, not yet, when you get them. All you have to do is fold it back and forth a couple times, and then you're gonna place it in the skull. And then at the end of our training, I'm gonna draw a couple names. There's a skull over here. Everybody. That's fun. So, but why am I doing a high five? What's the point of high five? Acknowledgement, recognition, because we're recognizing the behaviors that we want to see. Remember, acknowledgement is really about the adults. I know exactly how many tickets we have in our hand because it's our goal to be able to give this many out. If we started a little late, so I might really have a rapid fire to make sure everybody's doing our expectations. Because then this allows me as the adult to know I recognize so many behaviors. That's the point of the acknowledgement system. It doesn't have to give a piece of candy, even though I did that earlier because that was fun and I found candy that actually had a 5 on it. It's just the mere fact of providing feedback to the scholar. And this way you can even do it quietly. Some of our scholars don't like things overtly, they like to just be acknowledged. But so that's the point of the high five. And thank you, Matthew, who, whenever I have this bird brain idea, he comes up with a great graphic for me. And even when I said, Matthew, don't worry about it. You don't have to change it for this year. What did Matthew do? He changed it. Thank you, Matthew.
You're welcome.
Can I do this with you?
Absolutely. I'm not gonna stop you.
We did this last time, so I'm not even gonna go through this, but the reason why we gave you these slides is because you may have a teacher that actually has a concern with getting scholars' attention. That never happens anymore. Never, never, never. But we want you to continue using these slides because the next slide tells you the purpose. The next slide tells you the criteria. Remember, an attention getting signal has to be taught. It has to be both verbal and it has to be visual. It also has to be developmentally appropriate. So I stole this next one that we are going to use. I didn't bring my chimes for this one because there's more than just chimes. I stole this one from an art teacher that I'm so surprised I never thought of this. So when I say reach, you say for the stars, but where do your hands go? So if I say reach. Or this one. Okay, it works really better if you have some enthusiasm in your voice, because remember, you can fake it. And when you fake it, it really actually manifests itself into it. So reach. So, and remember, an attention getting signal is also something, it can actually fall flat. If you don't train the scholars, the whole point is to come back down. And so then sometimes you make it a game, you make it fun, you say, okay, that was 10 seconds, I bet you can't do it in 8. And of course, they rise to the challenge. So it's the point of getting everybody's attention. So sorry, I love attention getting signal. So. What's an attention getting signal?
Help your scholars get attention as you reach for this one.
All right. Thank you for being responsible and answering that question.
Excellent work. Okay, so to build on what Marla just stated, here are the 4 elements of an effective attention signal. And again, she touched on some of these already. You want to make sure they are auditory and visual, age appropriate. They require a response. It's not just us yelling something out to everyone. And then it doesn't require a specific condition. Okay, it doesn't require me going over to light switch, flipping it a bunch of times. Why aren't they playing now? Okay. You want to get the response from the students so so that they understand that you are looking for a specific action and reaction. Okay. We're going to touch on some of our resources that we looked at last time, just as a reminder. We're not going to go through each one of these in detail or anything. But here they are. Again, this.
Henry,
Yes,
how many of you received the videos that we sent as the update of these? Okay.
And the SAS, is it the SAS one?
Yeah, it was all 5 of them. If not, we'll make sure that it gets out to you again.
Yep. So the SAS 4.0, there's a new SAS this year. Really, it's just cleaned up. It's more user friendly. Bless you. It is based around the TFI, and again, more user friendly for staff members to complete that this year. And remember, the more people that complete it, the better well-rounding understanding we have of our fidelity of PBIS in the building. The OLAC and PBIS showcase is coming up January 31st. We have lots of schools being recognized, lots of districts being recognized, and also a lot of great resources at that conference. So please make sure you sign up if you can. Of course, our TFI Tuesdays, which is the hottest podcast at SSP5 right now. I don't know, maybe on Spotify.
It's not there.
Make sure to check that out. We have 3 episodes in this year so far, and another one coming soon. The Ohio PBIS website is a great place to look for PBIS related resources. And then finally, Teach by Design is another great resource when you are looking for PBIS related information.
And even though you probably heard the video, the Ohio PBIS is where you can find the online modules, which is another wonderful resource. Maybe you have a teacher that needs a little assistance in how to actually use acknowledgement systems. You can actually go and view that module. Maybe you have a new team that's actually doing the TFI for the first time. They have a whole module on the TFI.
Some of our binder reminders. Say that 5 times, man. Number 1, remember the importance of good note taking. Any PBIS meeting you have, really any meeting that you have, make sure that you have an organized agenda And that you have someone taking notes throughout your meeting. It's gonna help everything later on down the road and staying organized. Make sure you review your action plan for this year. Also review it on a regular basis. You know, if you set goals at the beginning of the year and you've accomplished those goals, go back into your action plan and see what your team needs to do or what new goals you need to set to continue striving for the stars. And then begin completing your walkarounds, you know, go into classrooms, cafeterias, hallways, buses, all that kind of stuff to make sure that everything that is PBIS related is being done. Expectations are being followed throughout the school year and the school building. And then lastly, make sure you schedule your SAS, your staff assessment survey. Some districts have that done already. Some districts and schools wait towards the end of the year, and that's fine too. But again, we want to get that fidelity check to see where we're at and where we need to go.
Walkthroughs, you can complete your walk around. Last year, those were done also, people came up and could do those.
Yeah, we'll help you with that. Yep.
These walkarounds are the ones that you want to do in preparation. These are ones that you want to do to gauge the temperature of your building. So that way, when March comes, you know it's gonna be a fun run. And then when you think about your SAS, just curious, how often should you do the SAS at least? Once a year, thank you, at least once a year. And you don't want to do it right away in the beginning of the year because, you know, we're not in full swing yet. So you want to wait until we actually have the 3 months under our belt. So that way we know that we have taught our expectations. We have maybe retaught our expectations. And everyone understands the flow of your PBIS framework in your building.
Okay. No.
Now it's time for you to get up and move because it's lunch. It's after lunch, so I know what I feel like after lunch. Everything that we do has to connect back to the main session that you first see. So we always connect back and then we take you a little further and where we need to go for PBIS. So our question today is, we want you to think about who's on your PBIS team. And as you think about your PBIS team, we also want you to think about, and why are they part of the team? Why were those individuals chosen to be part of the team? So take 1 minute to think, so that we sort of have some idea of what you're gonna say when you get there. Let's go. I'm gonna give you 60 seconds.
Marla, what about the folks online?
Our friends online, we're going to have to pair them up with a friend. Okay, now. Reach. Yeah. Almost. We'll do better next time. We'll do better. Find a person that you don't normally talk to, that's out of the room, and go talk to them. Setting our timer for 4 minutes. You can go now. Cross to Reach.
For the star.
5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I decided that we needed to add another layer to our attention getting signal as a countdown. Anything that resonated with your group as your conversation? Anybody want to share anything? Yes, ma'am.
We have yet to meet our first PBIS meeting tomorrow.
Nice.
It was scheduled already, but then it bumped ahead for the DOT meeting, and then bumped ahead with the CBT meeting, and it got bitten, so we have our first one tomorrow. But ours includes, like, we moved to our DU model, so we have 3 deans. So all 3 deans is a part of the PBIS because they deal with the behaviors on each one of their scores, like I'm K1 and 2 deans. And then we have like the general ed, the SPED teacher, the title teacher. Pretty sure our principal is in it, but you know, I'm also BLT, CBT, or PBIS, et cetera, et cetera.
And the wonderful PFI will guide you in the appropriate membership. Thank you so much for that's respectful. The wonderful PFI will guide you in the roles and responsibilities of that PBIS team, which we can absolutely share with you. Nice. Anybody else want to share anything from their conversations? Whether or not they got a new recipe, maybe a new jack-o'-lantern carving, I don't know. Anybody online too, Matthew? Yes.
I think it's great, like I'm talking to Mary about adding the resource officer to the team.
Oh, why did you do that?
It's just, so, you know, typically they do like, you know, like truancy, but, to add them to the behaviors is an actual, like, a great addition, especially if they're going into the classroom, dealing with the students, that's phenomenal. I love it.
And it puts a positive spin on him or her instead of maybe a negative spin. That, I like that. What's up here?
This is a conversation, but I just want to say it. There's like a lot of data tracking and spreadsheets with that, so like I recommend a math person. Because there's so many formulas that couldn't count cells and do all kinds of things. It's been great. I would just call and be like, I need a formula for this, or I need a formula, and then like he finds it and I can like pick a name real quick or something. So I highly recommend a good spreadsheet person.
That's a great recommendation. We have one of those. We love that person. It's not me. Thank you so much. And we talked earlier in the other session about the important process of that meeting where data does drive our conversation. So we know that because that's the world we walk in. This is the conversation we've always had. But bringing that up has brought that back to like data, to our research, to our support, to our monitoring. That's
Excellent. We've had no hands raised
no hand
Online.
raised online.
for anyone to want to share, so.
Okay. So let's move forward.
Or not.
Or fabulous. You're so respected. Matthew, this resonates so well with me.
Yeah, so I get to speak. They've kept me quiet long enough. So a couple years ago, I could have been 3, so maybe a few years ago, I was trying to find myself. Sounds like the spiritual journey, but it wasn't. I really was just trying to figure out like what I was supposed to be passionate about, because I'm really passionate about everything, which you can't be passionate about everything, because if you are, you're passionate about nothing. So I was listening to Tony Robbins. I know, don't judge me. But he was talking about a good way to find the things in life that you like, if you're not quick to identify them, are to think about the things that you don't like. So in my case, I was thinking about what I want to do with my life. I'm still thinking about it. I still haven't figured it out. But I quickly was able to identify some of those things. So what it was that I had colleagues telling me that, you know what, you're really, really good at this. You're good at this. And I'm like, nah, that's not, who cares? It's not that, it didn't matter to me. So none of that really meant anything, except for there were some things that they said that made me come to the realization that I do find some enjoyment in certain things that I'm doing. So Tony Robbins, again, going back to him, talked about if you can't make a list of the things that you want to do with your life or what you could find yourself doing, usually or typically people are able to come up with a list of things that they don't like doing. It's easy to say, I don't like this, I don't like that, right? So in the case, I'll give you another example. So my son, he's a junior. So we're starting to have these conversations about what he's going to do with his life. And when asked, he says, you know, we're like, well, what would you like to do with your life? And he says, well, I'd like to fish. That's right. Yeah, that's nice. But I don't know if you're going to be able to rely on that, you know, like as a career. So maybe we want to think about careers that might allow you the opportunity to do those things, right? The schedule, the salary, whatever. Maybe that are the things that you want to think about. So over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've started thinking about maybe what I should ask him is, what don't you like doing? Because maybe that list will help him come up with the things that he might be able to see or eventually see himself doing later on. So that wasn't that great of a compelling story. I can tell by the looks on your faces. But I'm going to relate this back to the resource that we used last week, the last time we were together, the resource we're going to use today, as well as the rest of the sessions. In that resource, there was examples and non-examples. And what I really like about those is sometimes we're not able to define what a certain practice looks like, or what it's supposed to look like, or even what it is in general. But those examples or those non-examples sometimes are a better definition of the things that we need to do, right? So in looking at some of those, you can look at those non-examples and go, oh, it means this now. Where I might not have been able to define or relate to the examples that are given there on that far left side of the column there, that first column. But look at those non-examples. So I really want this quote to resonate with you when we start to look at the resource later on, and we start to do some of those activities. But Bob Dylan said it best. Sometimes it's not enough to know what things mean. Sometimes you have to know what things don't mean. Right? Sometimes it's not, I mean, how many times have you heard this? Sometimes it's not what's being said. Sometimes it's what's not being said. So think about that. And Hendrik is going to do a little bit of review with us.
Okay, we're gonna do a quick review. For those of you who are in our attendance session this morning, it's gonna look a little familiar. What I need everyone to do is pull out your phone, including the people online. Please pull out your phone. There's gonna be a QR code that you're gonna have to scan here in just a second. And this little review game is a little unique. It's similar to Kahoot, where you're gonna log in, you're gonna put your name, you're gonna answer questions and try to score as high as you can. But you can also steal points from other people. You can add points to other people. As we're playing this game, it's only gonna be about 2 minutes. As we're playing this game, the leaderboard will be up on top. So as you answer the questions, it'll give you an option to pick one of 3, kind of like a treasure chest. And when you open that treasure chest, it'll say plus 20 candies or minus 50 candies, or you can take 100 candies from Gary. Okay, so it gives you the option to do lots of different things. So with that being said, man, if you could click the host button. And then it's gonna have you add your time to it. Post now. Or actually, you gotta scroll down. And add, just put 2 minutes to the arrow. It's not gonna let you delete. You have to go down. And then go up and hit post now. Okay, so there's the QR code. One person so far. Okay, let me start the question. Ready? No. Set. There you go. Okay, you're ready to watch this one. Like the game. There we go. Early lead. Anybody feeling stressed? Kelly, you're in second. Allison, third. Marquita, you're in first now. Fine. What, the tie for first?
Yeah.
That's what the first. Just so bad.
27 seconds.
Climbing up. Where's the last man?
15 seconds. Oh, Marquita, holy smokes.
Not the tractor.
So, in third place. Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to our top three finishers. As much as we would love to give a prize to everyone, unfortunately we can't. However, we do appreciate everyone's participation. Who is SLH? Who is that? And what's your first name? Sarah. Sarah came third. Who's Leah? Leah, is Leah online?
Yeah, there might be online.
Online, yes.
All right, congratulations, Leah.
Thank
And
you.
then who's PM?
And
Pam, congratulations. So Pam, you get first pick since you're first place. Okay. So you can choose one of these and then you're the one of these. Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome. Leah, I will make sure to get you a prize. If you could put what school you're at in the comments, and then I will make sure to get you a prize.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, so just a quick review. That is a great game. There's all different kinds of boards that you can put up. Different ways that you can have kids be competitive with each other. It's a great way to introduce vocabulary or do a review. And again, just a great way to get kids involved in something different. And if they have their phones out, have them hop on there and play a quick game. We want to shift our action based on our feedback that we received last time. So we do have, the stickers that we had on the tables last time that are similar to these that are in package. Someone asked for bilingual stickers and we do have them.
They're already been distributed.
They're already distributed. Don't ask me what they say because I have no idea, but they are bilingual. They are in Spanish, I believe, correct?
They are in Spanish, and if I can get every table, just let me know.
Excellent. Of course, we got an upgraded room. We have more space to spread around. And then, responding to the post-it notes, there are some. Okay, yep.
So there were, at the end of the session, we asked if there was anything else we could assist with. Two individuals gave us 2 ideas to do some research on. And those ideas were, one, thank you so much, I call them peace corners, you were calling them calming corners. Calming corners. So on your note page, our team got together, we did some research. There is an introductory video on how to start one, how to do one, and a variety of resources on that document. The second one was how to de-escalate a child that's already in crisis. I don't have an answer for that because it's as specific as the child. But what we did give you and we provided with you is a document that we're going to go deeper in next time. But it talks about the crisis cycle and how that we can begin to understand how to regulate a dysregulated child. Because remember, a dysregulated adult cannot regulate a dysregulated child. So Dr. Bruce Perry, that we're going to talk about or listen to again this afternoon, takes us even closer to that, so that way it's all going to be tied up in a bow. But those 2 post-it notes were asked, but everybody benefits when somebody asks for a resource. You'll find that on your note page, and if there's something else that we need to do or think about, write it on a post-it note, make sure we get it before you leave. I can't guarantee you we'll have as good turnaround as we did this time, but the last 2 were pretty easy. We'll probably get 20. When you get 20, you can't do 20 as fast as 2. But so thank you so much for that feedback. It made us dig a little deeper and us find different resources.
Okay, so based off of our last session together and looking at Dr. Bruce's first video, where he talked about regulate, you first have to neurosequential model, right? So we know that children both, or people in general, I guess, not just children, people in general, both, your brain develops from the bottom up, and you take information the same exact way from the bottom up, So it's sequential. So I just made this graphic to kind of highlight that. So in thinking about our last session and the whole regulate, relate, reason sequence, we start with the I can even say that out loud, somatosensory portion of the brain, which is like senses and body. You work up into the relational part of your brain, which if you look at all the graphic behind it, which is harder to read up there, but you'll see a little bit more where this is more of the primitive brain, and then it works its way up to the thinking brain. So I put this together just to give you a little bit better of a graphic of what that looks like, and as well as examples. So if you're trying to regulate a student, what does that look like, right? What does it sound like? If you're trying to relate to a student, what does that look like? What does that sound like? And then if you're trying to reason with a student, what does that look like? What does it sound like? So before I go any further though, because I think this is a really good opportunity to sort of pause and have us do a little bit of an activity. What are some others? These are, obviously, this isn't a comprehensive list of examples for any of those. So what are some other examples of ways that you could help a student regulate? And Marla, maybe we could write these down.
I
Somewhere.
can absolutely write them down. I don't think I brought my chart paper, but I'll write them here.
There's some right
Because I don't want to just leave it.
here. What are some, so we have rub their back, give some space, give some water, practice breathing. What else?
You all have these magic gems over there in the corner. Yes.
We kind of get at their level, so if they're sitting on the floor, we sit on the floor. If they're, sitting on a chair, we sit on a chair, so not like over top of them, or kind of at their level. And, yeah,
The kids that are physically, like trying to hurt themselves, or, you know, they're clenching their fist, I can take your hands and just hold them. And then,
And that helps regulate. And you know, the first one you said almost makes me think that's even more of a relate. But I guess it could be a regulate too. Because when you get down, you're easing their feelings. Right now, over here.
Go ahead.
Grounding techniques, like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Sometimes when you use your senses, it gets that energy out of that stress part of your brain and spreads it out into where your sensors are. So I'll have like mints in my office and I'll be like, well, how's that mint really taste? And focus in on that mint, and it sometimes helps them calm down.
We have somebody online that says mindfulness, teach size of the problem and zones of regulation. Joe?
So, just, so as a secondary person, also have worked in elementary world, like the trauma informed practice is good, but like a lot of times the end goal is to minimize the response, but not necessarily lead a child down the path of well-being. So one thing, there's something called healing center engagement, which approaches trauma from like this socio-ecological model. It's not like what happened to you. It's about your identity apart from that trauma. And I think as a secondary person that really, you know, is working towards building identity in the student, like at the lower grade, really, how do I manage those trauma responses? But then secondary, like, how do we build that identity, right? Because I'm, you know, not being facetious, but at a secondary level, I'm not gonna rub the students' back, right? But I'm really looking to how do I build that identity outside of that trauma response, that if they're at the high school level, at that point, we all know it's like, oh, you're getting Joe this year, watch out, like, they're the behavior. So we gotta establish identity outside of trauma response.
What does that look like though and sound like for us? So you're building our toolbox by sharing ideas. What does it look like and sound like to do that with a high schooler?
Well, so especially particularly freshmen, a lot of things I deal with the office is, well, I was bad in middle school. All right, so that's telling me their identity. So really start the solution around goal oriented. And the current district I work in does not have a lot of diversity through the color, but I've also worked in Cleveland Metro where the majority were students of color. And so when we're looking at like disenfranchisement, how do we look at that and overcome? So we start to build aspirations and hope for what they see for themselves in the future. And I think like in positioning, so at the high school level, it's more around goal-oriented contracts. This is what I want to achieve. And then progress monitoring that to help them see that they're moving towards their goals, like celebrating those successes in their identity as they're like, you're winners, you're moving towards your goal. You're not there yet, but you're moving towards it.
Okay, thank you. Is that more of a regulate, relate, or reason?
Are you asking me?
No, probably not.
Are you asking me?
I would think that it's more of a relate and reason,
Okay,
you know.
I just want to put it under the right category.
Anybody else? Yes,
Sometimes with our trauma-informed kids that we have, that we're knowing that their brains hijacked. A couple of them will do balloons and we'll just get the balloon in the air and try to pass it get their mind off of it and just switch. Or we would take the situation and we could get them from one room, put them somewhere else, so it's a different room, switch. Different than like calming music, but just try to change the environment a little bit for them if their brain is hijacked.
How can I write that simply? And are you putting out in the regulate, it sounds like you're trying to get them now?
Take their mind off of it and do something else.
Redirect. Oh, that's beautiful.
All right, how about relate? I know you're feeling, I understand you want, it's okay to feel. What are some other things that we can do to relate to a student that's, I like what she was saying, or the wording that she used, when a student's brain is hijacked.
I like that too.
My brain has been hijacked many a times.
Technology does that to me constantly.
Well, I just meant even with my behavior.
Kids, you all work with the kids. What do you say to them to get them to know you care? Because you know they will do anything for a person who cares. How do you tell them? How do you tell them this? It may not be, I know you feel, but what do you do? Can I help you? You think?
Is there anything you need? Can I help
Okay.
you? Talk about things they like, that I know you care, that you remember something about them.
And we can come back to this next session, so let's jump right to reason. So we've worked ourselves through regulate, relate, and we're now at the reasoning sort of stage.
What are some of those suggestions that are out there, Matt? I can't see them from here.
I'm trying to keep you safe. First, we need to blank. It's time for blank right now.
Okay. So we got them calm, they know we care. How do we get them back? Give them a choice. Oh, will they get choice word? Choice. I mean, they would be choice word, something like. I can't say choice word. Trust me, I understand. They go together.
Behavioral momentum, so give them things that you know that they can do. Like high probability request, things that they will be able to do, and then the hard one is to get it back in class, but what do they get? When they go back to class?
I would like that work, but here, you had to give me a hard work at the end of the day.
Wendy says, teach about emotions and coping skills.
For reasons, that's a great thing, because oftentimes our scholars don't know what they're feeling because they haven't been able to give a name to it.
All right. We've got some homework.
Okay.
So between now and the next session, in every session, let's continue to build on examples of each of those, all the way from the preschool classroom, all the way up to the high school classroom. And hopefully by the end, we'll have a whole list of ways or examples that you can take back and share. Yes.
Just a question, and the reason, is that when you're reteaching, like when is the reteaching moment? Going back to reteach expectations and the practice of those, right? Like, we're not just reasoning, it's not, okay, you know, I'm trying to, like, obviously they're regulated, we're relating their reason, like we're calm. Is that then the next step? You know, it's not just about I'm sending you back to class, but
Sure.
we need to intervene and teach some skills and give you some skills before we can.
I feel like the younger ones, I personally, this is a really Yeah, I think that's really way out.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, like the kindergarten first grade, it's like I can't do it that, we
Yeah.
gotta just. Wait, but I can
Right.
go over, definitely order.
Yeah.
And Lisa, you made me think about that re-entry piece too, because that's another critical piece. They have to know what skills they need to re-enter, but not only them. Our adults need to know how to allow them to re-enter with dignity and grace.
Right.
Yeah. So you do this, oh, yes, dear.
So sometimes too, we give them a plan that if they're feeling that way, what are some of the things that they can do? It might be a signal to the teacher, like starting to learn their triggers. And when they're feeling that, just if they need to get out of that space, how do they do it safely?
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because that just reminded me of a resource that we used last year that took us, oftentimes we think of our matrix of the behaviors we want to see. But this resource actually took us one level over and actually helped us start to identify with the scholar. It might be something you would do just with a scholar or a group of scholars. Like, how can you still be angry but still be respectful? How can you still be angry but still be responsible? You're teaching them, because we don't get angry. Really? No one in it really gets angry. Okay, we all get angry, but we know how to do it with respect still. So that's something we can pull out too.
That's all, I would just say, kind of piggybacking off of that, like, to get one step further in that reason. Is to point it out to them after they calm down, what it was that they did well, so that they get that validation and reinforcement of that.
Because that is the quickest way to get scholars to do the right thing, is to recognize them doing the right thing. Because we are so quick. I was listening to Dr. Tim Lewis the other day, and he talked about the fact that when we are thinking about academics, we say, oh, no, let's do it this way. But when it comes to behavior, we start saying, don't do it that way. Our language, our voice, our levels are just so different. And it was funny, I hadn't thought about that until I rewatched it the other day. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But I didn't have it.
No, so last month, we started our series with Dr. Bruce Perry. We're going to continue that today with watching our next video where he talks about stress and how it impacts the brain's function. So, and then followed by that, we're going to get into some groups and do some activities once again, where we have to use what we've learned.
The term frequently used by an educator or an adult when they're trying to explain sort of difficult behaviors is that the child knows better, the child's choosing to do this, and it's intentionally directed at me. And all three of those are inaccurate. You can certainly see why somebody would say that, but it really, that comes from a misunderstanding of the sequential nature of human processing and human behavior. Most of these misbehaviors that kids have in a classroom are not because they planned it out on the top part of their head and then told the lower parts of their brain, oh, go be a jerk, go disrupt class. It's because something came in from the bottom and stirred them up and shut down the thinking part of their brain. So when you sit down with them and they're calm and feel safe, the thinking part of their brain goes, oh yeah, I know better. I know you shouldn't do that. I know the rules of the class. And then an hour later, if you know the rules of the class and you are breaking them, the teacher has no other choice but to think that that's intentional because he knows better. But in fact, what's happened is it's basically temporary cortical shutdown. And everybody has this in their lives, right? I mean, think about it. I don't think anybody out there who's listening hasn't had a moment where they were unable to retrieve something that they knew. And a classic example is if you're like with a bunch of people and somebody's talking about, well, what was the Academy Award winning film? And, you know, a couple of years ago, and you go, oh, I know what it was. It was the one with that guy that did this and did that, and you can't remember it. And then on your drive home, you go, oh, it's blah, blah, blah. It's not as if the information, it was in your head. You just couldn't retrieve it under pressure. And that's an example of state-dependent functioning, which is another one of the core concepts that we teach in the neurosequential model. All functioning of the human brain is what we call state-dependent. And what that means is when you're in a state of calm, you've got certain systems open that you can use. But as soon as you start to get distressed, overwhelmed, frustrated, you start to lose access to those systems. It's state-dependent. So cognition is very state dependent. You can take people with IQs of 130 and you put them in a pressure situation and their problem solving capabilities will decay to exhibit a problem solving capability of an IQ of about 105. And that's a 25-point drop, literally can happen in 3 minutes. And it's not because they really have an IQ of 105, it's just because you put them under pressure and their ability to function in that moment was compromised. And this happens day in and day out with kids who've been exposed to trauma or exposed to patterns of stress activation where there's unpredictability or chaos. It doesn't have to be these extreme capital T traumas. It can be kids living in poverty, kids that have housing or food insecurity, kids that are marginalized or feel like they don't belong because they're immigrants or they're not the right color or not the right religion. And that will literally activate your stress response system in ways that make it activate and shut down the cortex. And so these kids will have a harder time in school. It all starts from a sense of safety. And because of the way human beings are organized, human beings are very relational creatures. We're social animals, right? And so if you feel as if you belong, you feel safe. I could go into the really complex neurobiology, but the bottom line is that there's systems in our brain that are involved in helping us judge whether or not we belong or whether or not we don't belong. And if we get the sense from our peers and from our teacher that we belong, we feel safe. And when you feel safe, your cortex is open for business. And this is why things like bullying are so toxic. When you're starting to be extruded by other kids in your class for whatever reason, and the teachers may not catch that, this child is going to be dysregulated and not feel like they belong. They won't feel safe in the classroom and they won't learn. And it's one of the things that we try to help educators learn more about when we use this neurosequential model.
Okay, take the next 3 minutes. Just have a conversation with the people at your table about something that you heard in the video that really just sort of sticks with you. Something that resonates with you. Or something that you want to learn more about or want some more time to think about.
Yes.
All right, 3, 2, 1, reach. I definitely will, reach. All right, so, I didn't get to hear everybody's discussion, but I do know, I can at least read one of them from online from Keely, who said something that sticks with me is the idea that just because the student knows the rules doesn't mean that it's intentional when they don't follow the rules, which I really think we don't spend enough time thinking about on a daily basis in our classrooms, because I'm willing to bet my paycheck today that every one of you, including me, including Hendrik, including Marla, broke the rules today. At some point or another, we broke a rule.
Not.
Listen, she's not nearly as good as you think she is. You don't care of what persona that she's put out there for you. Once in a while, she does break character a little bit, but
I'll write it down.
we do it every day, even as adults. We break the rule of some kind, right? We speed. The speed limit's posted everywhere. But yet we choose to not follow it. So, and I mean, that's easy to relate to in the classroom. And I think that's, again, as adults, I think we need to sort of go back to that and go, well, how often do I do that? And nobody, I mean, once in a while, there's somebody there that pulls you over with flashing lights, or they're just sitting there. Maybe they don't pull you over. You just see their presence and you go, oh, time for me to slow down, right? Now I remember the expectations. Marla, what did you hear?
I heard a lot of great conversation, just even talking about the fact of, do they feel safe? And I don't want to capture all of your conversation in here, but you know, there is something there about safety. And that if we will risk different things if we feel safe. But if we don't feel safe, it's so much easier for us not to put ourselves out there. Or in the case of your little person, I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl, but I didn't get that part. You know, maybe he doesn't feel safe, and that's why he cannot actually acclimate to your expectations. But I want to add on to what you said, Matthew. I firmly believe no scholar wakes up in the morning, maybe one out of a million, and doesn't want to do well. Just like I don't believe there's any adult that wakes up and comes to school to be a teacher or any type of support staff that doesn't want to make a difference. But things get in our way. How do we help remove those obstacles?
We had a lot of virtual participation. So, Leah was commenting on Keely's chat, and she said that she found it very interesting as well. And sometimes students are focused on their feelings instead of the rules, and it's not out of defiance that they aren't following the rules, right? I mean, who hasn't done that, right? And then Stacy said something that resonated with her was how a student feels when they feel safe and valued. I mean, how did, I could ask the people that are here with us virtually, how would you feel if I just completely ignored you? Yeah, you're not going to feel very safe or valued.
Or belonging.
Or, yeah.
Yeah. But we also know that we're preaching probably to the choir, but why are we giving you these things in different methods and different modes? What do we hope you take or do with it?
Take it back and help others.
Yeah, because I bet you each one of you have had this conversation at one point in time and you're like, that didn't hit home. I need to try it a different way. Because not everybody thinks the same. We're in it because behavior is something that we gravitate toward. It's something that we know is just part of who we are, but not everybody believes the same thing. Right. So that brings us to our resource, which just amazes us how our time just goes. Oh, wait, it does not take us to our resource.
No, well, it does. I'm just, so if you have the
Wait,
presentation,
shut my cortex down. Matt.
PDF or not, if you have the presentation, This is a link to an article that was actually the title, Everybody's Stress, or Everyday Stress Can Shut Down Brain Command Center. This is a visual that just sort of reinforces everything that we're talking about and how this is the unstressed brain versus the stress brain and how it reacts. That visual is also in the folder. If you go to the website, to the PBIS network for today's session, that visual will be in there. I don't know if the article is, but there's a link there for the article. I'm not sure if I
No,
clicked
the
the article.
article is not there. And also we wanted to give you a copy if you wanted to see it here as well. And we also wanted to give you a hard copy of the action plan too.
Marla, is your Cortex open back up again?
Yeah, my work actually never closed. I will stay with you, Andrew. I know that you never mean to do anything bad. So, again, even though this resource talks about for teachers, it really is also for administrators. Because sometimes we don't know all of the resources that are out there that we can use to support our teachers. And sometimes we don't know, like Matthew's quote, Bob Dylan, and we know he's one of the only musical people that has won a Pulitzer Prize for both literature as well as music. That's a Jeopardy question. I don't know why I remember this. Thank you so much. So sometimes we need to know, what does it look like? What does it sound like? When I go into my teacher's room, what should it look like, sound like, feel like? And I say that because when you say it, what does it look like, sound like, feel like, you are able to touch that. You are able to see that. Because if you use nebulous terms about classroom management, that means so much. But if I say, what does it look like? You can tell me. What does it sound like? You can tell me. You can tell me those things because those are so much more tangible. So our goal with this resource that we introduced last time, and we're going to be switching resources for next time, because the other thing we value is the fact that we know that when you leave us, your world does not stop. Your email does not stop. So when you leave us, all of a sudden, you have to focus on those other things. So we want to give you time now to actually work with your team or work with a friend, or if you are one of those individuals that prefer to work alone, because we all have our different styles, we want you to do that. But we're using the online resource as well as this self-assessment. I actually utilized this with the teacher last year because she wanted some assistance with her classroom. But I didn't want to go in there with this plan. So I sat down with her and I shared with her the 5 different reasons. And I said, let's look through this. Now let's evaluate. I want you to self-evaluate. Let's go through it. Tell me what you think. And because of that, her eyes opened differently. Now I'm not gonna say that works every time, because it doesn't. You're gonna run into people that don't want to open their eyes and maybe do not want to self-reflect. But our job as administrators or as support staff or PBIS coaches is to help our friends become more successful. So as you look through these 2 pieces, and we'll be around to just help you through it, the self-assessment is meant to be used with an individual, but you could possibly use it for a grade level because you can see different things across grade level. And then the second page is the actual action plan. So the action plan is what you would actually sit down with them. And again, remember, nobody likes things done to them. Just like our scholars. That's why we say involve your scholars. So don't do things to them, but let's do them together. So how about, I know it is already 2:25, which is amazing how the time goes by. And while you are taking this few moments to look through this, if you had one of our raffle tickets, or whatever ticket, make sure you wrote your name on the back of it and put it on the skull. Feel free to move if you feel like moving. And then we're gonna pull you back again. And we still have a few more tickets that we tendered.
Yes, they're on the other side of the line.
Is there anybody online that we should be giving a high five to?
Everybody.
Okay. Oh, they're doing it.
Okay.
Well, actually, I'm gonna hold it up.
So, Hendrik, could you just quickly,
Harry Brockway. And, oh, I forgot to tell you about the fidgets that were over here, but there are some fidgets on the table that you're allowed to take. But, and I forgot to tell you about the candy bars over here on the table because. But anything from over here, we may pick. And Harry?
Oh, I'll take another.
Megan Nicholas. You may come and pick from over here. Only if your survey is done. When your survey is done, then you can pick it. Marquita. But I pronounce it wrong again.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
From over here. Anything that they do. And then you take it down. So I think I got you.
Stacy Willis, congratulations. Your name was drawn.
Thank you.
So what, I'll
take her thing. Who? Oh, that's not Steve. Thanks. Okay.
oh, we have, no, we have.
That's different.
Yeah.
You let Stacy know that she has a choice between.
She's still here, so. Stacy,
Yeah, I can hear you.
your name was drawn, so Hendrik, which hopefully is.
Here, I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna turn my.
Actually, look at Hendrik's camera, I guess. Hendrik, your camera's off. So you get to pick, because your name was drawn. All of your names were, anyone that received the high five ticket name was put into the skeleton's head, I guess. And Stacy, your name was drawn, and you get to choose, and Hendrik's gonna hold up those prizes for you to choose from.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Card, press left card.
You're muted unless you can hear you through here. Right, raise my.
Just a second, let me.
Those are stickers. So-
Oh, okay, yeah.
What did the sticker say? She's not asking, I am.
Take a stand, lend a hand.
Okay.
Words can't rewind, so be kind. Niceness is priceless. If it's not nice, to cut others down.
There you go. So
Okay.
a book, markers, cards, stickers,
I'll like the markers.
the markers.
Yes. Thank
We will-
you.
Name on them. And we will make sure to get them to you also.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah, and thank you everyone online. We are finished up, so if you have completed the survey, feel free to log off. We will send out an email with all the resources and Padlet from today. And again, thank you very much for joining us.